We are live.
We are live. Hey, gang, I'm Sean. I'm excited tonight to do a collaboration with one of my best friends in life, Tony. I'm Sean. This is Going the Distance, and he is.
This is Tony, and I am Once Upon a Hike. Both have our YouTube channels up and running. I don't have all my videos uploaded from the hike, but they will be shortly.
Outstanding. Yeah, he's a bit of a procrastinator, but that's okay. He's a good guy beside that. So what we just completed was a 5-day section hike of the Appalachian Trail, roughly 56 miles, starting around Front Royal in Virginia and ending in Harper's Ferry. And so what we thought we'd do is a quick kind of Q&A, go through a few questions, kind of quiz each other on what we liked, didn't like, that type of sort of thing, and share that with you for any of you aspiring section hikers out there. And so we hope you really enjoy it. So Tony, if you're ready, I'll kick off with our first question.
Go for it.
So Tony, why did you even want to do this in the first place?
Well, I got this crazy friend named Sean that comes up with all these challenges, and this sounded like something neat, something that I'd never done before. I'd never done any overnight hiking, really, camping when I was a kid. And so it was kind of an opportunity to expand my boundaries and experience something new. And it's always a good time hanging out with Sean. So
always too kind as usual. But we same kind of for me too. I did one overnight hike before this section hike. And what Tony did mention, and it was true for both of us, is we literally bought like all of our gear kind of almost all at once because neither one of us had anything. It was really a trip. So we could probably share some of that experience maybe in this video or in a future video. But so we bought all our gear. Why did I want to do the section hike? I try not to let the cat out of the bag too early, but I'm looking at 2023 to do something pretty epic. I'll just kind of leave it at that for now, but I'll put that out there in the universe. So wanted to see what it was like to live on the AT for 5 days.
All right, so should we move on to question number 2?
Sounds good.
All right, so favorite accommodation, tent, hostel, or shelter?
This is a tough one. So, like I said, we wanted to understand what it was like to live on the trail. And so as a group, we decided, of course, we're going to tent. We tented at shelters. And then we had one rainy, blowy, windy night. And the shelter looked pretty darn good in that context. And we also had an opportunity to stay at a hostel in a really great place. I'll let Tony give some of those details. But for me, in the experience, man, that is tough because all three of those are great for different reasons. I'm going to go hostel was kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. I mean, the hostel was pretty sweet. How about you, Tony?
Yeah, so like you said, they all three had their benefits, right? The shelter being out of the rain, pouring down, torrential downpour that was that night was nice not to have to get up and put away a wet tent or worry about water getting in and all that good stuff. But that Coke at the hostel after 3 days of hiking tasted fantastic. Not to mention our other buddy Garrett's pancakes in the morning were pretty tasty as well. So I'd have to go with the hostel too. But like you said, I wouldn't want it to be every night.
100%.
I maybe once a week, twice a week tops if there's a local microbrewery around.
Which there happened to be, which was also pretty sweet.
Yeah, we could highly recommend the hostel and the brewery as well. We experienced both of those things, so
yeah,
good time.
Yeah, agreed. I think we're super happy we had an opportunity to try all three out, and I'm going to second Tony's point about you wouldn't do it every night. There's just awesome benefits of all three of those economies. So hey, Tony, nutrition, right? So you mentioned Coke. I was surprised that we were getting cravings for town food after only a couple of days on the trail, but we had to carry our own food for most of the time. And so, what kind of food did you really enjoy? What would you drop that you thought you would like? Did you have any calorie goals or anything like that?
I didn't really have calorie goals. Obviously, I had Mountain House meals for breakfast and dinner. Some tuna packets for lunch with some crackers. Crackers worked out better than I thought. I thought they were going to get pretty crushed and just be a bunch of crumbs, but that actually worked out all right. Plus, it was kind of a throwback to my childhood days. My dad would always buy the orange peanut butter crackers, so that was kind of a neat twist. And then snacks, I'd say overall, and we had this discussion on the trail that I didn't eat all my food, not even close to it. Even my dinners, it's 2 servings. I think if we were out for an extended period of time and that hiker hunger kicked in, I think I'd probably be eating probably everything. But the short period of time we were out there, I just think I think I brought more than I needed.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I planned almost 4,000 calories a day. And I took 4,000 calories home with me. So there was almost a full day's worth of food that I didn't really eat. I really did like the Mountain House. I think it's worth, bringing a stove and actually cooking. I know there's a lot of people that prefer to do cold camping, which is totally cool. I get it. But for me, I kind of preferred having a hot meal at the end. During the day hiking, I was doing bars and trail mix and things of that nature. But most of the guys carried like tuna or chicken or salmon, creations, and then like tortillas or something like that. And so I got really lucky. We met a friend on the trail. We actually gave our first trail name. His name was Orange Crush. And he hooked me up with a tuna creation and a tortilla. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to have to add this to my food bag next time. So overall, pretty good experience with the food, especially Sweet Springs Grocery, where we had more breakfast sandwiches and honey buns and Mountain Dew, if I remember right.
Yeah, that was a food stop that was unplanned, definitely unplanned. It was, stopping there for a breakfast sandwich, and that was definitely tasty, and yet another Coke.
and it was worth the 0.3 miles off trail to do it.
It was. I wasn't sure it was at the time until the food hit my mouth. So, but yep, absolutely. So let's move on to gear. We had a list here: drop, add, best, worst. I don't know if you want to go in that order. Go for it.
So bug wise, like ticks and mosquitoes, and not a fan, right? And so I'm more of the long pants, long shirt style. I mean, it's still new in my experience, but that's the direction I was going. And so I had a pair of long pants that frankly were a bit more baggy than I think I would like. In fact, I've already bought a pair of, for lack of a better way to say it, hiking tights that are more fitted because it just felt like I was dragging them along as I was climbing. So they're comfortable, but I would drop the pants and go with something more fitted. And I haven't used these tights yet, so we'll see how that goes. For this hike, I added the Outdoor Research Echo Hoodie, which is a really lightweight, super lightweight hoodie, UV protection. If you can't tell in this video, I'm a bit fair-skinned. And so that was a go-to for me. I loved that hoodie. My best gear, man, I love my sleeping bag liner. Like I told the guys this was the thing to go with. It didn't disappoint. It keeps it keeps your quilt clean because your stinky hiker body away from the quilt. It adds a little bit of degree of warmth if it's colder. And then frankly, you can use that when it starts getting warmer. You can send your quilt home, during the warmer months. At least that's how I'm anticipating I'll use it. So I stick with it. I love my sleeping bag liner. My worst, I was pretty happy with what I had. I did notice we had our friend Kevin with us, and he had a Katadyn Be-Free water filter, and the flow rate on that thing was ridiculous compared to my Sawyer squeeze. So I might look at that. I wouldn't call my solar squeeze worse though. It definitely did a really good job. But I would maybe look at the Catadine and just see if that might work better. How about you?
So obviously there were a couple things I brought that that I probably wouldn't have. I did bring a camp chair. Used it, I think, 2 of the nights, but not for an extended period of time. I did have breakfast sitting in it one day. So, but since we were stopping at shelters, we had picnic tables and places to sit down together and gather. But like I said, I used it the night that the was it the second night when we made the fire and sat by the fire for a little while. That'd be the only reason to really have it. But there's plenty of logs and plenty of places to sit around, so probably drop that. As far as other drops, I think everything else was. I think the time of year I probably wouldn't take my rain pants again because I don't think I need them. I'm a shorts guy, so I had shorts the whole time, which was nice, and just really I had an extra merino wool short sleeve shirt. I had a short sleeve and a long sleeve shirt, which I've used both, but probably don't need both. It was nice since we did stop at the hostel. We were able to do laundry, so socks and underwear kind of thing worked out well. Best item, I do like the sleeping bag liner. That was a good last minute ad. Thank you for that. That was nice. Give me a little extra warmth. I guess I need to switch to the BRS stove instead of the MSR, or is it MRS, BR? I don't know, whatever the acronym is for each one of those. I didn't like the way that the flame went around the bottom of the cup, and I did actually burn my hand twice. You'd think I'd learned after the first time, but so maybe switch stoves on that. Other than that, everything worked out pretty well. All the Z-Packs equipment, the tent was so easy to set up. The sleeping pad was fantastic. Everything. I do like the R1. That's a shout out for Garrett, but
I do. It was warm enough that we didn't get to use it as much as I thought we would. But yeah, the R1 is a keeper.
Yep, absolutely. But yeah, that was kind of and then I'd be curious. So I know you got the new Ultra 5s, Lone Peak 5s. I don't know. Did you use them in this last week with your stuff, or?
And I haven't had a chance to use them yet.
Okay. So I'd be interested to see how they held up. Just doing 58 miles. I know mine had some pretty significant wear on them. And so I'm interested to see how the newer ones hold up if I can get it back out on the trail soon. So.
And my 4.5s didn't though. So we all noticed different wear. We all basically wore ultras. Well, 3 of the 4 of us did. And we all kind of experienced different wear patterns with them. So I don't know if it's a function of the style of hiking that we might do as individuals, or, a bad lot perhaps. But it was a little odd that it was that different.
Yeah. Well, my toes probably caught more branches and rocks than yours did. So the fronts of mine were a little worn. But yeah.
All right. So what did you learn about yourself, or maybe the other part of the team, the other 3 guys you hiked with? So
preparation, I thought I did a pretty good job preparation wise for what I had. I'd done a 10 9-mile hikes, working up to it, and I felt comfortable with the distance. What I wasn't ready for was the ascents and the rocks and the descents. I had some different aches and pains on the ascent that I did on the descent, but it was nothing major. Feet were sore at the end of each day, a lot more so than I expected. But other than that, I felt pretty comfortable. I never felt the fact that I'm not going to be able to do this. So I felt like it was an achievable goal, even with you guys adding on extra miles and all the stuff that you like to do. So As far as everybody else, great group of guys to get to go hiking with. Couldn't ask for a better group. Everybody has their own personality, their own idiosyncrasies. Obviously, you pretty much sprint uphill every time. So keeping up with you is not keeping up with you is not an objective. And that was the other thing that was nice is we each did our own hike. But we also got to spend a lot of time hiking together and talking and chatting. And I learned how not to do YouTube videos. So, but yeah. And even though we all kind of came together through you, I consider them much closer friends now than hiking with two other guys that I never met before, and I consider them close friends. So
that's awesome. Yeah, that warms my heart. So I learned a couple of things. One thing I learned about myself was through learning about you guys. I think you know where I'm going with this. So I'm a very task-focused person. So, I've got a plan, and I just do it. And if someone asks me to help them, I'm 100% there, like every time. But I don't have awareness of what's around me sometimes about where I can offer help. I tend to just kind of, like I said, I'm task focused. And in this instance, I was getting water, and I just happened to glance over, and between Tony, Garrett, and Kevin, they were kind of, okay, you filter the water, I'm going to go get this. And you could see them working together, as a team. And it was very natural for them. It was super cool to kind of observe. And I thought, I need to be more aware, and I need to, so that I can offer help without being asked, essentially. I mean, nothing wrong with being task focused, but I think there's probably a balance. So I learned something about myself through watching them, which was pretty cool. The other thing I learned was that I freaking love hiking. I mean, we were up on a ridge line, and I was like, I couldn't have been more happy. I had really good buddies. And sometimes you kind of feel selfish feeling that way because you have a great family too, right? So I left my wife to go hike with my buddies. But I've got a great supportive family, and I had a passion for what we were doing, and it was a blast. So I learned that I can be very happy on my own with friends on a trail. And I can also be very happy, of course, at home with my family. So, a soul searching week, I think, maybe.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So what was your favorite part of the week?
The end? No. Well, I don't know. There were so many.
Starbucks and the McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the whole experience was just so much more than I expected. From the camaraderie between the four of us to experiencing, getting to that first site and say, okay, here we go. I got to set up this tent. I'm sleeping here tonight, regardless. What's this bear bag pull or, crap, what's that all about? Are we really going to see a bear, or are we going to have to worry about that? Am I going to have to dig a cat hole? That kind of stuff. Right. So, I don't know if I can single it out to one. Getting to the end of the roller coaster was a pleasant ending. And getting to experience just all the different pieces, like I said, the different sleeping accommodations, the differences in the trail itself. And like you said, hiking's cool. It is. You get out there and it's just you in the woods, and if you're with friends, great. If you're not, that's fine too. The peace and quiet, it's a good time. What about you?
I got to side with you, my friend. I can't pick a favorite part of the week. I mean, the whole week in total. And Tony, as I mentioned this to you guys, but like, he was fully committed to this. He had to fly in. The three of us were local. So he kind of did a bit of extra commitment to be a part of this, and I'm just super excited to hear that he enjoyed it so much. I think for me it was being with my friends. I mean, if I had to pick something, and being part of maybe connecting some people together and them being friends, that's kind of cool. I think that's probably my favorite part. Okay, there, I guess I have one.
Well, great.
I had to back into that, but there you go.
All right. So next we're going to talk something about, ask a question near and dear to your heart, because I know you plan everything to a T. Like you said, you're very task focused, and you had a lot of ideas on how to recover at the end of the day. So what were your recovery techniques?
Yeah, so I got to give a shout out to Gear Skeptic, and that's Skeptic with a K, who does this great YouTube series on essentially performance nutrition for long distance hikers. And so I really tried to model my food intake on his approach. And one of those approaches was a recovery drink with protein and a couple of other powders. And I did that for the first 2 nights. I didn't pack out the other 3 nights. I knew we were going to be at the hostel. I figured we'd get good food and stuff there. And I was just looking at my pack weight and I'm like, let me try this for a couple of nights and see. It's a great drink. It tastes awesome. Do I feel like it changed or made me feel better? I'm probably going to have to experiment with that a bit, but that was one thing I tried, was like a recovery drink at the end of the day. I packed out compression socks. So this goes out to Early Riser, another great YouTube channel. He would put on compression socks that would go up to like above calf. And every time he got into camp, and that's what he would wear until it was time to go to bed, just to kind of help with the circulation flow in your feet and your lower leg. I actually also wore compression calf stockings while I was hiking, which is supposed to help reduce fatigue. Your muscle literally vibrates, when you're hiking. When you do really long distance, that vibration actually can create fatigue. I learned that from some ultra running days, I've had in my past. And then the final technique I spent a luxury item, 8 ounces on a muscle stick. And so I would roll my muscles each night, because to me, long distance hiking is not just about the day, but it's also what are you doing to be ready for the next day. And so that muscle stick, I stand by that one. I really, really liked that a lot. And I guess I would also add in, I had a cork reflexology ball that I used on our 4th night. My feet were tired. And just being able to roll your feet out with this cork ball, which weighs like practically nothing, was pretty sweet. So I was heavy into recovery. We're all 50 years old plus, and you got to plan for the next thing, right? Almost as soon as you're done the first thing. So I didn't really ask you though. Did you do any kind of recovery? I didn't see stretching or anything.
I didn't. I didn't do a lot. Let's just put it that way. I didn't plan to do a whole lot. I've never really been into much recovery other than when back in our long distance running days, maybe an ice bath after a long run, right? So I did enjoy your cork ball at least one night. So that may be something I look into a little bit more. But my feet definitely, even after day 1, felt fatigued and sore and tired. But every morning when I woke up, they felt fresh at the start of the day, and then as we got going, they'd start to let me know that I was pushing them. So the rocks really took a toll on my feet. I think more so than anything else. But
I really wonder if that's anything you get used to. I mean, the human body is a human body, so it feels like you almost are going to have to endure that over time, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I get the same thing when I spend long periods of time standing. If it was the same feeling as though I spent all day standing on a concrete floor, right? But I don't think I would switch to a different shoe, with a more cushion, because I did like the 0 drop. I did like the lower profile because I am prone to ankle sprains, and we're not getting any younger. Right. And I didn't have any problems with ankle sprains, although you did catch me tripping once on the trail on video. So I appreciate that.
Sure. I wasn't setting you up.
I did it for you. I knew you were video tape. I knew you were YouTubing, so I tripped on purpose just so you'd have that little extra footage.
So did you do any like a fitness or pre-hike prep leading into this?
My biggest pre-hike prep was just getting in the distance, knowing that I could do at least 10 miles, 12 miles, whatever. And I think I topped out at just over 10 on one of my prep hikes. Also made sure that I did have some pretty good ascents. I think I had one day that I did over 1,000 feet, which wasn't near the 3,600 I think we had on the roller coaster day, one of the roller coaster days. Um, but I wanted to make sure that I was getting some of that in there, get my body used to it, especially wearing the pack and the weight of the pack. Although my pack, day one of the hike was 10 pounds heavier than I'd been prepping with. So I probably would, if I did it again, add a little extra weight to my pack just to have that extra cushion. I know, I think we all remarked on the last day how light the pack felt, but we learned a valuable lesson there too with water. I mean, day one, we were filling up every chance we got, right? Make sure we have water. After that, towards the end, it was like, hey, this will be enough we kind of could gauge how much water we needed for the rest of the distance. So what about you? I know you did a lot of prep.
Yeah. So I live in the city and it's a fairly flat area. So every single, like 100% of my prep was on the treadmill. I did a lot of incline work. Typically, it would just be like 6 miles a day, but I would at a decent intensity. I'd throw some 10 or 12-mile days in. And then, of course, I had a chance to go out and hike with Garrett a few days once, and then we did another weekend. So I had a little bit of time on the trail too. But I really felt like the incline work on the treadmill helped a lot. I wish I probably didn't need to, but as we get older, I really have to factor in some like resistance training, body weight training, something like that. Mostly everything I was doing was walking. So I'd probably change that up a bit just to see if maybe that makes things a bit easier. But I felt pretty comfortable on the trail. Yeah, so I was happy about it. What we didn't write down, and I'm just curious because sometimes they say being mentally strong is even more important than your physical aspect. And you're a strong dude. You have a lot of stamina, mental stamina. Is there anything mentally that you kind of worked through? I know that's not on our list of questions, so I'm surprising you. But like in the course of the day, where maybe it was getting a bit tough, any mental games you would kind of play to kind of work through it?
Yeah, I know. I think that I do actually, and I talked to Kevin, and I actually discussed this a bit, and I think I even talked to Garrett about it. I have a thing I do when I run a lot of times, and it's all about numbers. It's all about math. So I'll count to a specific number, and then and then go on to the next one. Or on the treadmill, I won't look at the distance. I'll keep the number counting. Keeps my mind occupied while I'm putting myself through the agony and pain. So one of the things that we were doing for a while, especially on those really steep inclines, really rocky areas, is I would just count in my head to like 30 or 60 or 100 or whatever, and then we'd stop and take a break.
Oh yeah, cool.
For just a couple, 10, 15 seconds. And then we'd go on, depending on how comfortable the terrain was. So that's something that I've done. I used to do that on my long runs when I was training for marathons. I actually had my iPod at the time and my iPod Shuffle, if everybody remembers those. And I would play 3 songs, and it'd be random. So it could be anything from, the 10-minute version of what is it, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, I think there's a 10-minute version or something, to something that's 2.5 minutes long. So it was never the same amount of time. And I always knew that at the end of that third song, then I'd walk for a song, or would be walk for a minute. I'd hit pause and walk for a minute, depending on where I was in my training. So and it just kind of gave me intermittent smaller goals along the way. So that's probably the trick, but I've been using that for years in different manners, but it definitely played out going up some of those really steep hills. It definitely helped out. So What about you?
Good deal. That's a great answer. I think that the hiking is still so new and fresh to me that everything's exciting. Um, so I was anxious to see like what's around the next turn. So I think I was focused on what am I going to see next? What am I going to, and that's frankly what kept me kind of moving. I don't think I had anything really special. Yeah, I think it's still too new. Like, ask me like on day 100 of a long hike or something, and I'll probably have a very different answer for you.
There you go.
Good deal.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of these surprises, challenges, opportunities. We covered a lot of that already. Was there anything maybe we didn't cover that you want to bring up?
So you made a comment about water weight and kind of how were we planning for stops. And so we used gut hook quite a bit. And we had one day that was flush with water. And we had one day where we had to be more careful about where we were going to get it. And so we can't overemphasize. It's best to have an app like Gut Hook, or a lot of people use AWOL's guide to kind of see where the water stops are, and frankly, kind of plan your day around that, because you've got to be hydrated. So I was really surprised at how ample the water was on that one day. I mean, every time we came down, that was, I think, our first day on the roller coaster. So we summited like 9 climbs that day. And so essentially the AT is you go up, and when you come down, there's water, and then you go up, and then you come down, and there's water. At least that's what it felt like on that day. But the second day got lighter. And so we had to be more careful about it. So I think I learned more that, use a good source of information, keep your eye on the water, and you tend to plan your day around that. I think that was probably the biggest, not a surprise or challenge opportunity, but maybe biggest lesson learned. I mean, I could say that. How about you?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That was definitely Gut Hook. Actually, towards the end there, as I was getting tired, I'm definitely counting miles and everything else there to find out how much further we got to go. And when it seems like you've been going forever, and obviously you talk about gear, the Garmin Phoenix, I love it. It's great, except on a treadmill. I hate it. It's awful to calibrate on the
calibrate it every time.
Because the other day I did a run walk, and I think that totally lost its mind, because now I did a walk and I did a 5K basically, and my watch said I did 2.1 miles. So it was a whole mile off on 3 miles. But anyway, outside and everything, fantastic. And if you do consistent running or consistent walking, it probably calibrates well. But if you're mixing up walking and running on the treadmill, I'm kind of disappointed in it on that. But as far as the whole thing was a challenge, it was more difficult. I knew it was good. I knew it wasn't going to be a walk in the park. It was more difficult than I thought, but not insurmountable, obviously, because we did it. So
did it, man.
But it wasn't. There was never a time when I'm like, I might just call up Angie and tell her come pick me up. I was not thinking that. So at the end of the day, when we got to where we were going, it was like, all right. Now, when we were a mile out and we're going, up a 50-degree incline or whatever it was, there were other times it was kind of painful. But so the mental fortitude, like you said, is something you definitely got to have out there. But if you got all the right tools and you got all the right equipment, we definitely were well prepared with our gear. I didn't feel like there was anything, oh my God, we forgot this or forgot that. Because I almost completely duplicated your setup, almost to a T, which I think I found those other shock cords that go on my back. I think because I ordered those separately. And I think they came with my tent. I think they're in my tent bag. But anyway, that's a different issue.
I haven't mentioned this, but I'm a Darwin fanboy. I admit it. So Darwin on the Trail. So check out Darwin. Also check out Frozen Outdoor Adventures is his YouTube channel. Really great gear reviews and really great recommendations if you're setting up for the first time. That's essentially who I followed as I built out my gear list. So, well, hey, why don't we close out with, I guess, one last question, it's kind of macro level, kind of planning the trip writ large, right? So we knew we wanted to do 5 days. We were trying to look at shelter placement. We didn't want to do too many miles on any given day. I think our biggest day was like 12 point. There was some change maybe. Does that sound right? 12.7, 12.4?
Yeah, I think it ended up being 13 because that's when we took that extra mile hike down to the water.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, you can't count water. You can't count the blue blade. No, you're
We
right.
didn't
That was
we didn't
a
count
bit of a
it, but
surprise.
I think that was
So
the
what did
same
you
day.
think about overall, like the number of miles per day, the number of days? Would you plan the trip differently, or did it seem to work out for you?
It worked out perfect for me. If I was doing more of it, if I was doing it more often, I'd probably maybe add some miles. I liked the fact that we did give ourselves some flexibility. We did do the hostel thing which wasn't planned day one, right? Although we were talking about another brewery or something at the end of day one, but we didn't do that. But so I like that flexibility of the trail and being out there and being able to stop. Or I know, Orange Crush had to add on a bunch of extra miles because his wife changed the exit date.
Yeah.
But hopefully she's not watching this. But anyway, it was pretty much perfect for me based on my level of hiking, I think. So, What about you?
Yeah, I was, we were all trying to be aware of our abilities and what we thought we could accomplish, and frankly, still have fun, right? I mean, if it was going to be a suffer fest, then, even around good friends, maybe it's still not worth it. So I think we struck a really happy medium with the distance we covered, where we started and where we ended too, right? Because that made, you traveling in was easy. We kind of all lived around here already anyway. So logistically, it was kind of easy. I wouldn't change anything. Now I'm excited about kind of getting out at some point and doing some bigger miles and just seeing what that feels like. But we also did the roller coaster. So for you watching, we mentioned the roller coaster a couple of times, and maybe you haven't really described it, but it's like about a 13-mile section of ups and downs all in a row that add up to a lot of climbing, and considered by many fairly strenuous. And so for most of us, it was our first, foray into a 5-day section hike. And so we didn't do the whole thing in one shot. We split it, which I think was the right move. So frankly, I don't think I could be happier with how it turned out. Yeah.
Yep, I agree. Fantastic. And I look forward to doing more with you. Maybe not all those extra miles, but we'll see how that pans out.
Well, hey everybody, if you liked what you hear, Tony posts regularly on Once Upon a Hike. I do the same on Going the Distance. Please leave comments below if there were questions that maybe you have about the Appalachian Trail, section hiking, backpacking. We'd be happy to do the best we can. I'd say we're both consider ourselves newbies, but we're students of the game and learning as we go. And so we appreciate you hanging out with us. Tony, any closing thoughts from you, my friend?
I recommend it. I know I have a lot of friends that I've talked to about it, and they're like, "Oh man, something I really want to do, or I really want to do a through hike." And I'm like, for those people that want to do a through hike, that's fine. I don't see it being in my cards, but like I mentioned on the trail, if I do 50 miles a year in 42 years, I'll have done the whole trail. So
Done.
So we'll see how that works out. But thanks to everybody that watches. If you got any advice on how to do this better, let us know. This is our first time using Restream. It was a product that I found, and it's live. I haven't seen any subscriber numbers go up from 0, so I don't think anybody watched actually live. There is a chat function, but we don't have anybody watching, so that didn't do much. So thanks again, Sean. fantastic opportunity. And until next time.
See you on the trail. Peace out.
Bye.